You're probably at the metaphorical fork in the road right now in your life. And it's hard to make a decision what to do next. Of fucking course it is. But no one can make it for you. It's up to you. It's up to you to make that decision, to accept responsibility for it, to stand your ground, and to see it through. So what's it going to be? Something's been on my mind this morning, and I've been having a hard time voicing it, bringing it to the surface. And I don't know if you've experienced something like this in the past. Maybe you have. Maybe you've thought about something in the past, like something that you've done, something that you've tried to experience, something that you've tried to chase, like a goal or an ambition or like an adventure you tried to go on. And maybe you ended up giving it up. But for some reason it keeps popping back into your life. And then in the present moment, you're not chasing that thing, but you are thinking about it. And it makes you think, are you using it as a coping strategy? Are you using it as a coping strategy to try to visit something in the past to run away from what's in the present? Or do you keep thinking about this thing because this thing is important to you, and at some point in your life, you just weren't prepared for it? And maybe you are now. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is for me. I don't know what the answer is for you. But I can tell you that if something keeps popping up, it means that it's important to you. It means that it can't be ignored. It means that it's part of yourself. So maybe you're just having doubts on your abilities to get there because maybe you haven't been able to show yourself evidence that you've been able to do something at this measure. Maybe you're just thinking to yourself, I can't do this thing because of the circumstances currently in my life don't allow me to. Or maybe you're thinking that other people may make judgments of you. Whatever vindictive thoughts populate your head, whatever negativity that surfaces, you can't disregard the fact that it's important to you. It keeps popping up. It doesn't go away. And I think the best strategy to go about it is to ask yourself, how do you feel when you think about this thing? How do you feel when you think about this thing in the past that you've disembarked from, that you've set off, that you've changed course from? How do you feel about it when you think about it now? Is it a negative feeling? Is it a positive one? Does it make you feel anxious, excited, anticipation? Does it make you feel like you're about to embark on another adventure? Are you interested in it? Or does it make you feel negative? Does it make you feel guilt? Make you feel shame? Make you feel like you're behind? Make you feel like you made mistakes? You need to ask yourself what sort of feeling is more dominant inside of you. And that will really, I think, be your best compass in determining whether or not this thing is good or bad for you. Because one thing is for certain, if something keeps coming up into your life, you can be sure of one thing. It's hard to ignore it. It's hard to ignore it. Now, it's up to you, and only up to you, to determine if that thing is good or bad, because no one else can label that for you. No one else can help you determine if that thing that keeps popping up into your life and that you keep thinking about on a regular basis is a good thing for you or a bad thing for you. Maybe you just don't have proof. Maybe you don't have proof that you're able to see it through. Maybe you don't have the confidence. Maybe you don't have the support system. Maybe you're at a different point in your life now. Maybe you've learned more things, gained more experiences, developed more confidence and maturity. Maybe you feel like it's time to try to revisit that thing, reopen that door, and think about the possibilities. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to think about the end outcome. And I say, what am I doing in the present right now? And where does that lead me? And do I like where that leads me? And then what is this thing that I'm thinking about doing? And where does that lead me? What would my daily life be like when I get there? Would it be something that I believe I would enjoy? Can I see it in my mind? Is it something I can anticipate or imagine? Is it something that I can create a vision for? Is it something that I believe I could feel happy with doing? Which is a hard question to answer because you'll change along the journey in the process. But is it something for you? I think another indicator is think about what you're doing right now. And think about the other people in your field that are doing that thing. Do you relate to them? I'm not saying that you have to like them. I'm saying, do you relate to them? Do you have similar qualities? Do you have similar traits? Are you driven and ambitious in the same ways that they are? Do you have your eyes set on the same goals? Do you have the same value systems? Do you have the same work ethic? It's something to consider. And it's something that I believe every man hits a junction in their life. It's like the metaphorical fork in the road. What are you going to do? I think once you hit your 30s especially, this decision becomes much more in your face. You know, when you're in your 20s or even in your early teens or late teens, you can kind of divert a little bit. Yeah, I got time to figure it out. And it's not that when you're in your 30s you don't still have time to figure it out. You're still very young in the grand scheme of things. However, when you're in your 30s, you start to think about your life in a different dimension, in a different lens. You start to think, what do I want to do with my life for the next 10 years? You start to think in long-term visions. Because you've made it to 30 at this point and you've realized the ups and downs that you've experienced in your 20s, the exploration that you've experienced. And now you think to yourself, what's next? Like, what am I going to do concretely moving forward? What am I going to actually put my foot down in the fucking ground and put a stake down and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do? Because you don't have as much flexibility in your 30s. Meaning that when you have problems, albeit relationship, health, financial, nobody really gives you any sympathy. And I'm not saying sympathy is something that you should desire. And I'm not saying that it's something that should be given. But I'm saying you're on your fucking own. And you got to figure out and make the decisions based on what you think is the best principle. What you think is the best decision. What you think are the best actions to take moving forward, especially if you're a man. You need to cross that, metaphorical bridge and metaphorical fork in the road. And sometimes you feel alone in that process. So look, I understand, brother, if you're feeling the same way. If you feel like you're hitting a fork in the road where you have a decision to make. To commit, to stick through what you're doing. To use the experiences that you've gathered in your life to keep moving forward in a certain direction. Or if it's time to change. Or if it's time to explore something new for the next 10 years of your life. Or if it's time for you to revisit something in the past that you've tried to do, but you just weren't in a good position. Whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe you weren't ready. Or maybe you're running away from something. I don't know what the answer is for you, friends, because every man's got to make that decision themselves. You have to make that decision yourself. You have to decide what to do moving forward. And you have to commit to that decision. You have to accept responsibility. Because if you don't accept responsibility for your decision, that means it's never been fully yours. It'll never feel like it was yours. So if you don't actually take responsibility for your decision, it's never going to feel like you made it. It's always going to feel like it was influenced by something else. And when you make decisions that are influenced by something else, it's always of weak integrity. It doesn't last. It's got to be true to you, brother. It's got to be true to you. Don't think about the repercussions, the negatives, the problems that come with it. Who fucking cares? You're going to have problems no matter what you do. Because if you don't enjoy the idea of what you're doing, if you don't enjoy the process of what you're doing, if you don't enjoy where it's going to take you long term, then you need to consider, is this for you? Or is it not? So look, brother, you're probably at the metaphorical fork in the road right now in your life. And it's hard to make a decision what to do next. Of fucking course it is. But no one can make it for you. It's up to you. It's up to you to make that decision. To accept responsibility for it. To stand your ground and to see it through. So what's it going to be? All right, brother. Thank you for watching this morning motivation. And I'll see you on the next one.